So you have this DNA made up of genes, and it produces proteins in the cells, and that gives us our physical traits, what we look on the outside as well as how we function on the inside, okay? Well, let's look for just a moment at the DNA molecule itself. You know, we've all heard that it's a double helix, right? And it's like, what in the world does that mean? The very structure of this molecule shows a superb engineering design because we cannot rival this kind of information storage molecule that the DNA actually is. Here's an easy way to think of a DNA molecule. Pretend that you have a ladder that's leaning up against the wall. Okay? It's got two side arms on it, right? That's the double part that they talk about with the double helix. Take that ladder now and twist it into a spiral staircase. That's a double helix. So when you hear double helix, that's the basic structure of the DNA molecule. What scientists have been trying to determine is what are the rungs of the ladder. Okay? There's one of 4 different types of chemicals that can make up a rung of the ladder, and depending on what its precise order and arrangement is, that determines what proteins will be made. Does that make sense? So there's a basic structure here, and because of a very organized, systematic arrangement, it provides the type of proteins that make up our bodies. Well, just to give you an idea just how complex the information is stored in your DNA, this is talking about one single cell in your body, just one single cell, 46 chromosomes in the nucleus. It says if the entire base sequence, or the rungs of the ladder, of the 46 chromosomes of a human cell were printed in the same way as this college textbook, it would require over 820,000 pages, equivalent to 820 volumes of the size of this book. But then it goes on that even if you have all that information, it would be useless unless the cell could understand it. So now all of a sudden you had to have a communication system between the storing information molecule itself and the cell itself. Dr. Michael Denton says this about the DNA molecule. He says the capacity of the DNA to store information vastly exceeds that of any other known system. In other words, it's even better than our computers today. It's so efficient that all the information needed to specify an organism as complex as you, as mankind, weighs less than a few thousand millionths of a gram. That's really light compared to a feather. Okay? That's a lot of information in a very small package. So the DNA molecule is not only a storage molecule, but we also find that it communicates language. Language is something that we all recognize around us that infers intelligence to be able to create that. In fact, NASA has spent millions and millions of dollars listening for some type of a language coming to us from aliens. They're doing that with the SETI project, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. What they're looking for is some type of code or symbol that comes to us as a meaningful message. So if that implies that there's intelligence out there because it's a language, how much more when we're looking at the DNA molecule? Another way to look at that is even the English language itself. The English language can be broken down into different components, and we can see that the way that that's structured is the same way as the DNA molecule, the genetic language, is structured. With the English language, the most basic element is the Morse code, the dot dash space. And for many years in the West, that's how they communicated. These Morse codes then are used to encode for the different 26 letters of the alphabet. And from there, those letters make up the 400,000 different words that we communicate with and all the unlimited concepts that we have. We understand that basic structure. But if we look at the DNA genetic code itself, we see the same parallel there. In the same way that the Morse code is the most basic element, here's the nucleotide bases. Those are the rungs of the ladder that we talked about earlier when we're looking at the structure of the DNA. These will code for amino acids. And these amino acids then, where there's 20 of them, will make up then the variety of proteins, the thousands of proteins that are actually within our cells. These proteins then encode for all the incredible complexity and diversity of life that we see in organisms today. So if information itself is stored in DNA, we also see that there must be a language also stored there in order for it to communicate with the cell itself.